welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, February 10th, 2020. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Tuesday, February 9th, 2021, recorded 2 more COVID-19 deaths, bringing the total number of persons who have died as a result of the viral illness in the country to 6. In a release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, it said an 87-year-old hypertensive man was admitted on February 6th in an unresponsive state and tested positive for COVID-19. He remained unresponsive and died on February 8, 2021 from a stroke and pneumonia related to COVID-19. The second person is a 54-year-old female with hypertension and uncontrolled diabetes who was admitted in the early hours of February 9th with severe respiratory distress, tested positive for COVID-19, and died at 2 a.m. Also on Tuesday, SVG confirmed 16 new COVID-19 cases from swabs taken between February 2nd and February 9th. These cases were detected during entry and exit screening, contact tracing, and testing of persons with flu symptoms. There are now 1,189 local cases of COVID-19. 36 persons have been cleared, bringing the total number of recoveries to 454. 880 cases remain active and 6 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,324 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is advised that the use of masks in the public spaces or private spaces which the public has access to is now mandatory under the Public Health Act 2020. The consistent use of facial coverings is aimed at reducing the spread of COVID-19 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And on radio today, Prime Minister Dr. Gonsalves said there has been a decline in the number of reported positive cases of COVID-19 since the month started up to yesterday. On NBC Radio's face-to-face program, Prime Minister Gonsalves highlighted the number of positive cases and samples that were taken over the past 9 days.
33 of them were positive. On the 2nd, 260 samples taken, 14 positive. On the 3rd, 278 samples taken, 18 positive. On the 4th, 349 samples taken, 13 positive. On the 5th, 325 samples taken, 9 positive. On the 6th, 119 samples, 9 positive. On the 7th, which would have been Sunday was the 7th, yes, 13 samples were taken, 1 positive. On the 8th, 33 samples taken, 3 positives. Now what you have here, you notice it says SVG today confirmed 16 new cases from the swabs taken between February the 2nd and the 9th.
Prime Minister Gonsalves said that from January to February, the Georgetown district has been highlighted as the district with the most reported COVID-19 cases. He said the age range of the positive cases has been between 25 to 34, noting that these persons are the strongest of the population.
I wrote a program, particular educational program. What is going to be very critical? The persons between 25 to 34, they are not, by and large, overwhelmingly, these are very strong young people. And we see that the persons who get really sick, a tiny minority and even a smaller number who may succumb to it, either succumb to COVID, either die from it or die with it. People with serious comorbidities. It means, therefore, that the younger persons who are infected with COVID, and even if you didn't get tested yet, and you have the symptoms, it is wise, in fact it's absolutely necessary that when you're in the house, to stay away from other people, and particularly from the elderly folks, and especially those who have serious comorbidities.
In regards to issues surrounding the quarantine process for persons coming into the country, Prime Minister Gonsalves said it is ironic that those who are saying that persons should not quarantine are the same persons who think the borders should be closed for 28 days.
One of the powerful reasons why you must still have very strong quarantine with persons who are coming in is because one of the reasons is because there is a mutation, a change in the nature of the virus, and that you want to make sure that as far as is practicable in all the circumstances, you try to keep out the British variant, or worse at the moment, the South African Brazilian variant. Now, there's a logic to that. And the health authorities have concluded that this is necessary and desirable.
On Saturday, February 6th, the new public health rules and regulations aimed at stemming the spread of the virus took effect, which includes the mandatory wearing of masks in certain public places and the reduction of the passenger load of omnibuses by 50%. Prime Minister Gonsalves on radio today gave a few guidelines for the application of the new rules and regulations, and he appealed to the police to use their discretion when applying the law and citizens to cooperate with the police.
I had a meeting with the Commissioner of Police on Friday and his top brass, including the person who is in charge of traffic. I said to them, listen to me. The government is passing these regulations. I said, we're not dealing here with, you had to go about looking to give ticket willy-nilly. You apply the regulations with sensitivity. For instance, if you stop a minibus and you see on top of the minibus, there's somebody in it who not wearing a mask. You say, man, you know you're supposed to be wearing a mask. If you have one, put on the thing, no, man. If you don't have it, come off the bus. If it is the conductor or the driver, naturally, if the conductor is not wearing a mask and you say, well, the guy come off, the conductor comes off, the bus can't move. You don't even have to give the fella the ticket yet. If the man or the woman who is the conductor start to cuss and misbehave and you're recalcitrant and so on, well, they will fine you, they'll give you the ticket and they'll take you off. Use your sensitivity.
Dr. Gonsalves also commented on the protocols churches should follow in an effort to keep the members and the general public safe. While mask wearing and indoor gathering stipulations of 10 persons should be adhered to, in an event that it is not, the Prime Minister said he is not calling on the officers to ticket persons while they are worshiping. He said he will be meeting with the leaders of as many churches as possible via Zoom this week for further discussion on the matter.
That we want to reach the stage yet to take somebody out of the church who's in there without a mask. Some people may say, yes, Ralph, take them off. I disagree in terms of judgment and proportionality, because to me in our society and the reverence we give to the church, it may well be a bridge too far. When people are coming in the church, tell them if they don't have a mask, they can't come in. They have to have physical distancing. They sign a book coming in, put their address and telephone number. Just like when you're going into a funeral service, they have a book, a condolence book. Why is the reason you're writing that book for the COVID? To help people with contact tracing, help the medical authorities with contact tracing, make life easier for them.
The opposition, New Democratic Party, says the government has been slow and indecisive in combating the spread of the COVID-19 in SVG. In a statement issued last evening, the party noted that calls from their leader, Dr. Godwin Friday, and others for more effective measures such as mandatory wearing of masks in public and provisions of more isolation facilities to assist persons with COVID-19 were rejected and ridiculed by the members of the government. The party says the recent announcements by the Ministry of Health to admit to community spread of the virus and to make wearing of masks mandatory in public places restrict the numbers of persons in public transport, vehicles, rum shops, and restaurants shows a reversal of the government's position. The NDP says, though late, the announcement is a step in the right direction as the measures, if properly enforced, can reduce the spread of the viral illness. Notwithstanding the new measures announced by the government, the NDP continues to call for stricter measures to secure the nation's borders, including restricting flights and boats coming into SVG for a period of 28 days, with exception for nationals returning home and for necessary commerce. The party leader was quoted as saying, "It is better to take the necessary measures now than to delay further and make the situation worse." The NDP also cautions against what it calls a continued piecemeal, a timid approach by the government to addressing the spiraling cases of COVID-19 and calls for a more decisive and proactive approach from the government in dealing with the situation. The party said the government must also provide financial support to van operators to promote compliance with the public transportation restrictions and to ensure the critical service they provide will continue. The NDP is also encouraging members of the public to follow the protocols and to be responsible in this time of crisis, noting that everyone has an obligation to do all they can to combat the spread of the virus. The team studying the monitoring activity at the La Soufrière volcano, led by Dr. Christopher Thomas, has permanently occupied the Belmont Observatory. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, last Saturday said in light of this, the monitoring network is now being managed on a 24-hour basis. Today, our news team visited the Belmont Observatory in Rose Hall. In this report, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd tells us more about the monitoring process.
This room is where the monitoring takes place, mainly for deformation, seismicity and degassing. There are several monitors and 2 seismograms. There are also 4 cameras viewed on one monitor, of which 3 are overlooking La Soufrière Mountain and another positioned to capture the crater. The monitoring team is being led by gas specialist Dr. Thomas Christopher from the Montserrat Seismic Research Center. Dr. Christopher said that he is the one who monitors at nights as he is permanently stationed at the observatory.
In terms of monitoring, what we're trying to do is to prevent casualties. So as long as we see there's a problem and we can send the alarm out, that's the most important thing.
Seismic stations have been installed at various locations to provide feedback to the observatory, particularly earthquakes, which are registered constantly due to the effusive eruption taking place at the new lava dome.
As long as you're seeing earthquakes, you know there's something up. The volcano is doing something. If you look, you can see that there's variations in the sizes of these lines, if you like. And some of it's probably wind, but some of these are actually events.
Mikal Harry is a volcanologist who helps with measuring the deformation, also known as swelling of the volcano. She is assisted by some members of staff from the Lands and Survey Department.
The idea is that hopefully we'll be able to see changes from the initial measurements that we took last week as we continue over the weeks as the eruption progresses.
What the total station actually does, the secret is it sends a signal from here to a prism that we have on the crater wall. Yeah. So it uses EDM, electronic distance measuring, to send a wave that way, and it bounces back to the instrument and it measures the distance.
Another member of the monitoring team is Gart Manette, seismic engineering technician. His responsibility is to repair, install and maintain the electronic equipment.
So we plan to go to the fancy area
where one of the stations was upgraded from the old analog set to a digital station. So going to finalize all the logistics of that station and also put in a GPS pin for the GPS monitoring team. So we'll have a combined station of seismic sensors and GPS at that location in Fancy.
It was noted that several changes have been observed since the volcano began to effusively erupt late December. The dome has increased to more than 80 meters and continues to grow laterally. Damage to vegetation continues to spread in a downward slope, and most recently the increase in temperature and stronger sulfur smell was reported at Walibu Hot Spring. Samples continue to be sent overseas for further analysis. Dr. Christopher, however, gave the assurance that they are now in a better position to monitor the activities of the volcano and report any unusual activities to the relevant authorities. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
And while on the leeward coast of the island, our news team took the opportunity to speak to some of the residents of Rose Hall who said while they are prepared should an evacuation order be given, they are hoping that it will not come to this.
Say no food explode, you know go explode. And if your food go down, you go carry down back. He's in control. You don't smell it, no sulfur, no sulfur. No sulfur. You don't smell it. If me mind tell me go, me go. If me mind tell me no go, me stay right here.
We just keep in touch. No know about the volcano. We not keep update nothing, so me no know. Just like it is today. Till now me not pack no bag. So me not scared. Me not going to no shelter because nobody not go interfere with data them, so me rather stop home. Too much abuse are going and them shelter thing they cause all them things, so me not go away. Me not go feel comfortable going in and no shelter.
Well, I think people are being observant because as you could see we're on the top and then we could see directly over there. People being observant, but I don't think there's a lot of panic. People are alert because we keep getting updates from the relevant authorities, so we keep ourselves updated, and in the case of an evacuation I think we are prepared for that.
Still scared about it and still smoking a bit, so it don't look no difference to me, still the same and everything. We still have to prepare and think because I never know when things might happen.
The La Soufrière volcano alert level remains at orange and no evacuation order has been given by NEMO, which continues to appeal to the public not to visit the volcano. President of the Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, said that the union has been receiving complaints that teachers are being harassed by some parents who may not like how their children are being taught through the online classes. In an interview with SVG-TV News, Robinson said this type of behavior from parents cannot be tolerated and urged them to cooperate with the teachers, especially during these challenging times.
We have a situation now where practice teachers from the college are doing online teaching as part of their training. And there are parents who want the teachers who are what we call cooperative teachers, the teachers who are working along with these practice teachers. There are parents who want these teachers to teach what the practice teachers are supposed to teach, but that is not so. So we want to explain that and to ask the parents to understand that the practice teachers are there. It's part of their training. They have to put in a certain amount of teaching practice because they would be graded. And that goes as part of their examination. They must pass the practice teaching in order at some point to be appointed as a qualified assistant teacher.
Robinson is also asking that teachers be very mindful of the amount of work that they send to their students on a daily basis, noting that too much work can cause children to lose interest.
We want to ask our teachers also to be mindful of the amount of work we send for the children. And you know, teachers really want the students to be meaningfully engaged. But if you have a half an hour, and then after that you're sending 10, 15 questions for children to do, then when are they going to do it? Because they have to log on after 15 minutes to another class, and another class again another half an hour. Okay? So we wanted to be mindful of that so that you do not overwork the student, because they could get torn off.
Speaking on how the online classes have been going thus far, the SVG-TU president said he is proud that a lot more teachers have mastered the technology to conduct their online classes. He, however, noted that the main problem they are facing is poor internet connectivity.
They are rising above some of the challenges in terms of their competencies in manipulating, maneuvering to reach the students. And that is still work in progress, because as you know, knowledge is dynamic, and when you get into these platforms, the system itself would tell you of other things that you could do. So you have to more or less teach yourself. Okay? So that is good news. A lot more of our teachers are learning to use the technology. The major concern has to do with connecting with the students, because sometimes the students are there waiting. It has to do with the reliability of the internet, how reliable it is. Because I've seen cases where children are there, teachers are there waiting, and the parents are complaining they can't get in. Please let in my child.
The COVID-19 pandemic continues to destroy lives and livelihood of many individuals, especially those in the hotel and tourism sector. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, these individuals are among the hardest hit. In a telephone interview today, SVG-TV News spoke with the head of the Vincentian Taxi Association, Winston Pops Morgan, who highlights the far-reaching implications of the pandemic on his members. Morgan said that taxi operators are now falling behind on their day-to-day obligations in the face of a non-existent tourism season.
What has happened is that the last tourist season came to an abrupt end, and going forward we're learning that we mightn't have another season till around 2023. And there's been a significant reduction in the income that taxi drivers would have derived from such. And we would have looked forward time and time again to the coming of the cruise ships. And we know that there's not been such. And the season was already a seasonal one, 6-month season. So now to have none at all, because some of our members used to play catch up in terms of meeting our financial obligation, our bills and so on, when the tourist season ends. So having now no season becomes increasingly difficult for men to make the obligation.
Morgan said there is now an influx of taxi operators in capital Kingstown, as drivers who usually provide the service to and from the Argyle International Airport are now coming into Kingstown looking for work or freight. Morgan said that while taxi operators received a loan $500 payment from the government, which they were grateful for, no other form of concession has been announced. He said while a few of the members of the association have resorted to farming, selling goods, and woodworks to supplement their income, the majority solely rely on their taxi service to meet their financial obligations. Morgan lamented the need for the support for taxi operators, who he said are the tourist ambassadors of the country.
There's not any concession or anything in place for taxi drivers in terms of whether it be fuel or tires or, anything that would help us in the operational, cutting the operational costs. And I think we need to look into something like this, because if you have members who are tourism approved and who follow all the protocols and who are on the government list of taxi drivers, of approved taxi drivers, I mean, they need to do something for us. They must have something in place. To this day, we don't even have a duty-free concession. Yes, we're having conversation on that, and up to now, nothing. Going forward, we will sincerely hope that some end comes to this pandemic in the near future.
In other news, president of the National Fisherfolk Organization, Winsbert Harry, said members are not pleased with what is in place in the budget 2021 for Fisherfolk of SVG. Harry, who himself is a fisherman, said that there are several fisherfolk groups across SVG who need their support, especially during a pandemic.
And if the fishing have to develop the economy, you have to build the organization. I didn't see that in the budget, that they targeting fisherfolks groups and fishers, because early on before the budget, I think we have primary fisherfolks groups in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have Barley, we have Calfico, we have Goodwill, and we have the fish vendors, and they put them up for lease. And if you have cooperative that manages place, and now you're leasing them out to private investors, where are the fishing corp going? So if you're building an industry, you have to build fishing cooperative as well too. You're not building the corp, but you're pushing us out because of a $20 million investment. So it seems like that take priority over everything in St. Vincent right now.
Harry noted that Fisherfolk didn't benefit from the government's income support program under its COVID-19 stimulus package and were promised help to procure boats or engines, but has not yet materialized.
The only thing was there was a promise to Fisherfolks that they were going to purchase 40 fishing vessels, and they're going to help fishers who have boats and do not have no engine. And that now gone out the window. We now hearing about addition now $1 million fleet expansion program. So we are asking ourselves now, what about the address that was given to the nation that 40 boats will be coming in? I listened in Parliament when Honourable Minister of North Leeward, then Mr. Matthews, asked the Minister about the boats. He said there was tendering was to be done, and up to now there is no information about these boats that was promised from the Prime Minister, and now we're hearing about a $1 million fleet expansion program.
The president of the National Fisherfolk Organization said, like every other sector, the fisheries sector has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and feel that it is time the authorities have a dialogue with them to address the issues facing fisherfolk.
No assistance given to the fisherfolks. We have a Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. We hear that the farmers was given money for drought, but the fishers themselves, we feel a crunch because we wasn't able to ship. The hotels was closed down, and there was a lot of challenges we face. And I think people looking at the industry as people who just go in a boat. The industry is made up of different areas in the industry. So I think we really have to have a talk. It's time that I ask the government or the department to come to the fishers, bring us into the discussion. It's come like a putting thing to us, and I think it leaving fishers at a disadvantage right now.
Inspector of Police Parnell Brown, who serves with the Traffic Department of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, said last year they have recorded a significant reduction in the reported vehicular accidents. Inspector Brown told SVGTV News that this could be attributed to the new programs implemented by the police force.
The police at the traffic department, with their sensitization program, the on the beat program, and the police in the out district, they have been doing a tremendous job in enlightening and educating persons as to how they can be a little more safer and be a better driver on the road. So we are seeing some positive in terms of the way how the police educate the public as to how they can be more safer on the road.
Inspector Brown highlighted the stats for last year from January to December, noting that there were 5 road fatalities.
In 2018, we had 988 reported accidents to the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force. In 2019, there was a reduction in 835. In 2020, 761 accidents were reported, makes it a difference of 95, less than the total that was reported in 2019. In 2018, we had 5 road fatalities. In 2019, we had 4 road fatalities. 2020, we had 5. So we are margin around 4 to 5 accidents for the past 3 or 4 years on road fatality.
The police inspector used this opportunity to caution drivers not to drink alcoholic beverages, knowing they have to drive.
I am also advising the general public, persons who have vehicle and driving are using our roads. I am asking you please to avoid drinking and driving. Comply with the rules, comply with the laws, comply with the posted road signs, and be careful. Look out for your brothers and your sisters while driving, and let us have a safe and productive year 2021. Thank you.
The SVG-Cuba Friendship Society says it warmly welcomes the strongly supports of action of the Vincentian government to nominate Cuba Medical Brigade, named the Henry Reeve Medical Brigade for the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize. The nomination was one of several by parliamentarians, academics, and leading cultural artists in support of the Cuban medical professionals. The Friendship Society said while the nominations have been sparked by the role of the brigade in assisting many countries to combat the coronavirus pandemic, the brigade has performed heroic deeds all over the world in the fight against diseases, notably in Africa against the deadly Ebola disease. In the case of the Caribbean and Latin America, Cuba medical professionals have been playing an invaluable role in many countries, helping them to strengthen and develop their capacity to combat COVID-19. And the SVG Cuba Friendship Society said Cuba and the Henry Reeve Brigade in particular must be commended for its unselfishness and solidarity, and is deserving of the prestigious Nobel Prize Award.